Hey everybody, welcome back to the Shop Mini RC. I'm Ken, and today we're going to turn this regular old V1 SCX24 controller into this. Bam! What? So first things first, I want to give a shout out to Sean Bashan of Gunner's RC Garage. He kind of did this first, and he's done a lot of all-wheel steering, rear-wheel steer rigs, and so he decided he wanted to mess with the stock electronics in the transmitter and make something work for him. So I'll put a link to his group, Gunner's RC Garage, down in the description. That way you can check out kind of what he did. We're going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to try to make it a little bit more simple for everybody that isn't so good at soldering or maybe wants a cleaner look, doesn't have a lot of extra parts. I think we can do it with no extra parts at all. I think he just used a servo wire, but we're going to use what we've got in our two transmitters. And it should be pretty easy. It is going to take a little cutting. It is going to take a little soldering. You just kind of got to get in there. If you're not comfortable with it, I guess this isn't for you, but I'd recommend doing it. If you've got an old if you got a bunch of these, you know, we personally have a ton of these. I think I've got like 9 of them. So sacrificing one to make a cool one. Plus we've got a cool project coming up that we're going to try to use it on. And yeah, so I figured it'd be a good time to show it. And it's really not a huge loss if you mess something up, and it's really hard to mess something up. You know, if you can do a basic solder, you can do this. We did use a Dremel. Let me show you what we already did. Oh, screws went everywhere. That's okay. We use a Dremel to cut the wheel off. Bam. Here we go. Okay. So we did that first before we opened up the transmitter that we wanted to use and make sure we can inspect stuff and see how things are set up and figure out how we're going to mount our rear steer wheel to our transmitter. Sean put it here, but I don't know if I'm a big fan of having it right here where my hand is, and it doesn't really fit very well. And, you know, I think it's going to be harder to make it look clean, and I do want it to kind of look clean. Maybe it's nice to have it there. I don't know. Sean really likes it right there, so it makes sense why he did it. But I think I'm going to try something a little different. I think we're going to try to put it here and probably do it like this in the front. And then we'll use this as our rear steer, and this is our front steer. That way you can still steer like normal. You still have plenty of space here for your grip. I have big hands, so that's another issue maybe, is that the wheel kind of, my hand hits there, and it just makes it kind of awkward feeling. And again, there's a couple other reasons why I kind of want to put it up here. I'm going to try to use this cable without cutting it at all. And we're going to plug it straight into where you need to plug it in. Anyway, all right, we're going to go ahead and get into this. You can mount this wheel wherever you want on your controller that makes sense to you. You know, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But you're going to have to be able to make sure your wire reaches. Anyway, we chopped this out. Let me kind of show you what that was about. Yeah, like so. We just Dremeled it. You know, we took the wheel off. So you pop this wheel off, and then there's 2 screws here on the inside, and you pop those 2 screws off, and that'll let you pull this whole thing away, with the exception of the brackets underneath. And then you can Dremel out the outer casing and make sure you don't mess up, you know, where your screws screw in. These 2 brackets, don't mess those up. But you basically could just follow the line all the way around and straight across the bottom, and follow the line all the way through. Again, just don't mess up the posts that these screws go into, and you should be good. And that'll pop this whole thing off. Give yourself as much material as possible. I kind of wish I would have cut it in a little deeper to get a little bit more material. But I think this should be fine for what we're trying to do. And you basically just pop that off. Make sure you unplug your plug here. This is basically the same plug, not as your balance cable, even though it looks like it, but the same plug as some of the other batteries out there. I forget the name of this, but it's a, I believe this is a, man, I can't remember the name of it. I'll try to find the information and we'll put it right here. But we use these on our Mini Z batteries and on some of our other rigs. They're basically your lead and your balance. A lot of the 128 scale on-road guys use these, and I'm pretty sure these are the same plug. So just so you know, if you need to get a new plug or the female side for your version, that's what they are, okay? They're not the balance cable plugs. Those are bigger. But hopefully we can do this, like I said, without any extra parts. Let me get rid of this. I'm going to bring this over here and show you kind of what we're going to do before we start doing it. So this is our top panel, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to basically wire our wheel to our channel 3. And here's your channel 3 right here on the back. There's 3, it's kind of hard to see. You got 3 little prongs here. You got 2 outside. That's what's holding the switch in. I don't know if you can see the switch in there, but the switch box is grounded and held right here. And then there's these 3, as well as this one here. I'm not sure what that one is, but we're basically going to wire it to these 3 here. Now, you're pulling this out of your channel 1, and that's already got the female side. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to unsolder this from here and just solder it onto here. We'll see if we can make that happen. And yeah, then we'll have a place to plug our plug into. We're going to test it on this board first before we do it on our real remote. I just want to see if it works and make sure we've got directions correctly and we've got the direction of the pins and everything correct. And yeah, we'll be good. All right, so first things first, to get our female plug here, we're going to pop off this board so that we don't melt things. We have access to stuff. And we just kind of want to see what it's about because we've never actually taken one of these apart. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pop these off. You can just use some beetle nose pliers, put them under there and just kind of pop them off. And then on the back, you've got 3 screws, 1, 2, 3. Pop those screws out, and this will pull right off. Okay, and what we're looking at is we're just going to take one of these females, and we're going to pull the pins out. So basically, you can just pull this out, like so, because you don't want to try to unsolder it with this in there. The prongs will get hot, and you'll melt the plastic plug. That would have been cool if those were long enough to just slide on top of there. How cool would have that been? Oh, man. That would have been awesome. They're just too short. It'll fit, and it goes. They're just too short. If they were longer, which it doesn't make any sense that they would be, but if they were, that would have been perfect. You just literally slide this on and plug it in, and you're good to go. But we do have to do some soldering. So we're gonna pull that off, and we're going to get these 3 pins here. And yeah, that'll give us somewhere to solder onto this. All right, so we're just going to use our tweezers or some beetle nose pliers to kind of pull on these prongs, and we're going to heat them up and pull them out. Should just be able to push them right through. Ta-da! And then just do each one. Just like that, nice and clean. Pulled out the prongs, and now we have some prongs. All right, so we got our wheel and our plug end from the old remote, and now we're going to do our new remote. First thing you got to do is make sure you pop off your little cover here. The remote splits in 2 right down the center, so you're going to have to do that. You have to pull off your front sticker here, so that's unfortunate, but that's fine. You can probably reapply it if you take it off nicely. And then there's a sticker on the bottom, and you're going to need to pull that off as well. Make sure you got no batteries in there. And then it's just a matter of pulling out the screws. So I'm just going to loosen all the screws. I'm not even going to take them all the way out. I'll just unscrew them all until they're loose. And then just leave them in their slots. That way we remember where they go. Pretty simple. So you've got 2, 3, and 2. And then things should just come right apart. Basically just kind of pull it apart, just like so. Keep all your screws in this side. And you don't have to worry about losing them or remembering where they go. Set that aside. This piece will come off. So don't lose that. And then here's our board. It comes off just like this. These little guys pop off. Just remember they go like this. This is our antenna. Remember how it goes. So we're going to attempt to mount it on this side like this. And I think we can do it with minimal cutting. We're just going to cut a little bit out so that this portion here fits through and our wire goes through. And we're going to try to get it nice and tight up against the edge, right? And we should be good there. Before we do all that, though, we're going to go ahead and do our soldering and get our wheel all hooked up. So if you put your plug in like so, you've got white, red, black. The way this is going to go, your channel 3 switch is right here. Okay? And you're going to end up going white, red. Seems like you can put it on either one of these, and then black. So we're going to go white, red, black. So if you've got 5 or 6 pins here, it's going to be pin number 2, number 3, skip number 4 and number 5. So 2, 3, and 5. And we're going to solder this to that. And again, it starts with the white, red, and black. So that's the order we go in. Now, you are going to want to get your female end as close as possible to the board. So we're going to probably trim these plug pieces, or at least lay them a little flat. Actually, we'll probably just do this. We'll bend them out a little bit so that we can get our plug to sit fairly flush against the board, because this piece, actually we might have plenty of room. Let's look, hold on. Let's put this back together. Just kind of slides in there. And actually, yeah, we're good. We're good. So we can put it just like so. It's going to be right next to your trigger. And yeah, that should be pretty easy. I don't know if you can see that. Go ahead and try to zoom in. But we're basically going to connect there, there, and there. So you have to bend your wires out just a little bit, just a tad. Just like this. And you should be able to solder it right to it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Interesting, this board is different than the other board because these were plugs that plugged in. So you may not have those, you may not have this plug to pull off your old controller. Interesting, they're just soldered straight to the board. Worst case, if you don't have this plug, you can always just cut your wires and solder them straight to the board, which maybe isn't a bad idea anyway, but we wanted to do the plug and thought it'd be easier. That way we could unplug it, do the outside, stick it through the hole, plug it in. You wouldn't have to solder it while it's still together. So anyway, so that's interesting note. There's differences in the boards here. Let me look. This looks much more simplified. The newer version, I think, and they've simplified the chips on the board and whatnot. The antenna looks like it was separate before and now it's integrated. Interesting. Anyway, well, now we know there's two different versions of the V1. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do this. Get this guy soldered in. Let's see the easiest way to do this. So we're going to be facing this way. All right, I hope you can see this well. You can see we're lined up here. And again, that's going to be our white if our plug goes in this way. Our white, red, and black. Now, if you're going to do this wrong and turn on, nothing really bad is going to happen. It's like it's going to go up in smoke or anything. Your servo is just going to stay stuck to one side or not work. So you don't have to be overly nervous about this. It's pretty straightforward. We were trying to test to figure out which points we needed to solder to, and we did it a whole bunch and left it on some, and we're trying to see if we could get it proportional versus just full left, full right, and center, but you can't. So it still works. We've never had any issues, and seems fine to me. So I wouldn't worry too much about messing up and having it soldered to the wrong thing or having it upside down or anything. You'll just have to redo it. So let's go ahead and just solder this on. If you need to pull your plug here, the pins out of your plug and do each pin separately, go ahead and do that. That way you're not risking melting your plug. Okay, we got that first one soldered in. See, you've already got a glob of solder here. And the second one. The board is very, kind of a punk. The solder on the board is kind of rough. It does not want to melt easily, so you just got to be kind of careful. If you don't melt your wires, we kind of touched on accident. Our soldering iron is pretty hot. We just touched for just a second and it caused an issue there. Okay, so now we've got the second one in and this third one. Get this out of the way. We just needed it for the first to hold this on, but now that we've got 2 points, we don't really need it. All right, so we've got our plug soldered. You can see where we did it. can sit fairly flat. Simple as that. And we can plug our front wheel in now. Like so. Now, unfortunately, because we don't have the plugs like this one had, I planned on just switching our steering wheel here to here, and then this one to here. That way we could do the front steering up here and the back steering using the back wheel on our thumb. So that kind of sucks. So I decided I'm going to pull that plug off. We're going to just hard wire it straight in. You can do what I showed just a second ago. If you've got both the plugs, that makes it way easy to just swap the plugs, plug one into the other, and you're good to go. But we're going to go ahead and just put our channel 1, this wheel here, to our channel 3, and then we'll put our new wheel to our channel 1, and we'll just hardwire it like I said. So before we do all that, again, we're going to go ahead and mount our wheel onto our remote. That way our wire can come through and then we can solder it. All right, so let's get that part done. So we're going to start with a hole right around the A and the X. We're basically trying to avoid losing this post here. If we don't have to, I'd rather not. That post is actually mounted right here. You can see it's on the very bottom of this kind of inset. So right in here is that post. We need to be able to make space for the potentiometer here. And so we're going to be about like this, I think. You also want to make sure it's not too close to your back wheel. You also want it to kind of look nice. So we're going to try to put it like right here where this lines up, right at the front. And that's going to put our potentiometer right on the A and the X. So we're going to start with a hole right around between the A and the X, and we'll see where that gets us, and then we'll see how much we need to make it larger to be able to get this to sit flush. And you can use a Dremel, you can use a drill, you can use whatever you want to put the hole in. We're just going to go ahead and drill it. Okay, so that's where your hole's going to come through. Does look like it's going to need to be a little bit bigger. I mean, heck, you could even use an X-Acto knife to cut your hole. You just want to make sure you're not going to be hitting, don't cut your antenna wire or anything like that. So just be careful when you're doing this. And pull this guy out, make yourself some more space. And you know, I think we might end up dremeling some of this. We'll see. Again, the hole was more just to show us where we're going to be. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Most of this is going to be covered up anyway. We just need the hole big enough to fit all of this stuff. There we go. We're getting closer. Nice. You can see on the inside here, we still got our post. I guess we'll go ahead and bring this back quite a bit further, just so that this screw will drop in. We can get it a little bit more straight. All right. Getting there. We're trying to basically fit this bracket into the slot as much as possible, I think. So we'll keep going down. There's nothing down here. There's this post we need to be aware of. So just be aware of the posts when you're cutting, right? But beyond that, we should be good. Actually, that fits pretty well like that. Maybe we'll just leave it there. So we ended up cutting a lot more than we expected, which is fine. It's not a big deal. But like I said, it doesn't really matter how much you cut. You can also clean up your edges with an X-Acto if you want it to look nice and clean or whatever, but you're not gonna really see it. So I'm not too worried about it. You can see we got a nice and flush fit now. Flush enough. This little slot here we had to cut to get the front screw in. So you can see kind of how it sits here. There you go. Got a screw there. That's that front screw. Kind of see what's moving there. And then a little bit there, and you got room for your posts. You don't have to cut any of the posts. It kind of fits perfect. It's a perfect deal there. And we're just gonna probably shoot glue it or E6000. We'll use some of this. We have a link in the description below to this. We'll just glue it on there. Bam. A nice fit. It's got a decent, doesn't look too sloppy, so that's good. Should have left a little extra material on there. Gives you the ability to get it cleaner. This underneath part, you can't really leave that, or can't really get more material there because that's where the bend is. And then we're just going to coat it outside of the steering wheel. Get ourselves a decent amount of E6000 on there where it's going to touch, or shoe goo, or whatever adhesive you like. I know it's touching right around this screw, so we're going to make sure we get a little bit around there. And I know this is kind of sitting right on the edge, the outside edge, so we can get it on there. We should be good here. It's mostly along the top here. And then once this dries, we can add another kind of nice little filling layer, or clean it up, or whatever. All right. Just going to press it in there. Probably bring it forward just a tad so we have a little more space. And then we're going to let that dry. And then, like I said, we can go in and clean it up, add a little bit more just to help secure it, add some from the inside. But this should be good. All right, we'll be back in a while.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So here's what we got. It's not the worst. It doesn't look beautiful, but again, it's going to be functional. And it doesn't look like a total hack job. So I'm pretty happy with it. We could have done it cleaner. But again, it's a remote. It's a cheap remote. It's a box stock. I'm not overly worried about it. All right, so what we're going to do next is we are going to unsolder our real wheel, this wheel here, and we're going to put that to our channel 3, and then we're going to solder this guy to our channel 1. So we use this for our main steer and this for our rear steer. That way we're kind of like drive in and rear steer. All right. So let's go ahead and get this channel 1 unsoldered and get this guy soldered on. All right, our front wheel is now hooked to our channel 1. This is the order they go in. If you unsolder it and forget, it's black, red, white. We're going to do the same thing on here. Again, this is our channel 3, these 6, and we're going to solder 1, 3, and 5. 1, 3, and 5. And it goes white, red, black. Just so you know, the white is your signal, the red is your positive, black is your negative, obviously. Red is power. So we're going to do signal here, then we're going to do power and ground. All right, that's not the prettiest soldering job. I actually just really rushed it, so whatever, it'll work. Let's power it up and let's make sure it works. Basically just going to throw our battery thingy-bobobs back. Okay, let's get our batteries in. So we're gonna have to put it all back together because this has got to be held in. I just remember we've got screws and stuff in here, so I don't want to lose them, but let's see. All right, we got power. Where's our test truck? And a battery. But you know what? We have to bind it. We did not have this bound to the truck. So we'll go ahead and hold the bind, power on. We're blinking. Plug in our truck. Ooh, there's our front. There's our rear. There we have it. So we can steer and rear steer. Now again, it's not proportional, but once you drive it a little bit, it feels proportional because you're able to move it back super fast. It's also more comfortable than trying to flip the switch and drive at the same time. I did get used to that for a while, driving and flipping the switch with the same hand, going like this, basically. I would drive like that. But this would be much easier. Pretty slick, pretty slick. All right, we're gonna get the controller back together. Alrighty, she's working. We got throttle, we got forward steer, and we got that rear steer. Pretty sweet. I dig it. That's fun. That's fun. Again, looks pretty clean. Not too bad. Pretty slick. Also, just a reminder that the 3-position switch still works. Now, while it's switched, you cannot turn, right? But while it's in the center, you get your turn. Okay. It's fun. It definitely makes it easier. It definitely makes it more enjoyable, just in general, just an enjoyable way to drive. I don't know. It's fun. Different. People will be like, what the heck is going on there? So we might use it on our next WoW project. We're going to be doing a WoW project soon. It's been like 6 months in the making. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. That way you know when these videos show up. And yeah, why don't you put down in the comments below saying that you watched this whole video. Put down there double doohickey, because we got double of these doohickeys. It's fun. All right, guys. Peace.